As we had recently tied for first place in Jim Silva's tattoo challenge, Santa Slowdog contacted me and asked if I would like to do a buddy build dedicated to Jim. My response was an enthusiastic yes. If you want to see what Santa and I did to tie for first place, you'll have to check out the video over at Jim's channel. Santa suggested we use the Hot Wheels twin mill as he knew it was one of Jim's favorite castings. We then threw several ideas back and forth as to what we might do with the twin mill. We agreed to sleep on it and talk again the next day. When the idea for this build hit me, I quickly did a little photo editing to flesh out the concept. I knew then that this was what I wanted to build. I would move the driver's cockpit forward and create a Diora-style truck from the twin mill. I began the build with a twin mill casting that had a metal body and a metal base. I disassembled the casting to begin planning the build. The first cut would be to remove the cockpit roof and windshield frame. It took some careful cutting to remove the roof while temporarily leaving the rear post intact. The next step would be to remove most of the hood. With the roof and windshield frame now temporarily fitted, I began to reshape the new truck bed outline. I also had to separate the engines from the cockpit interior. I could now see my vision beginning to take shape. After stripping the paint from the body and the base, the roof and windshield frame were permanently attached to the front of the body using JB Weld. The gap below the windshield base was filled with JB Weld, then sanded to shape. Since the front post was removed to make space for the new cockpit, I decided to relocate the post to the area between the engines. The original post from the nose was tapped, then screwed to the base in the new location using a 256 flathead screw. JB Weld was used to glue the post to the body, and with the body and base held together with masking tape, they were set aside while the JB Weld cured. At this point, I realized I was going to need to create some new wheel tubs for the cockpit and bed areas. I designed and 3D printed a generic wheel tub that I could cut to size and glue in place. As the wheel tubs were being fitted, I decided to install axle tubes made from 19-gauge stainless tubing. This would allow me to completely fill the original axle slots. As I developed the truck bed area, I decided I did not want a smooth bed floor. I wanted the bed floor to have some texture, so I designed and 3D printed a grooved floor insert. Because the new truck bed was going to occupy the location of the original rear post, the post would have to go. To hold the rear of the casting together, a hook system was created by adding a 1/16 diameter brass rod across the rear of the base and reshaping the former body axle supports into hooks that would engage the brass rod. The sides of the truck bed area were then sculpted using Milliputty epoxy putty. After the epoxy putty cured, it was sanded to shape and any remaining imperfections were filled using catalyzed polyester glazing putty. It's starting to come together. The original windshield would be able to be reused, although it would need to be trimmed significantly. However, while adding the wheel tubs, it became obvious the original interior would no longer fit. A new interior was 3D printed after modifying the interior I had recently designed for the Harry Hauler. The new interior just fit between the new wheel tubs. One feature of the life-size twin mill that I wanted to bring to this build was the massive carburetor intake scoops, so I designed and 3D printed these as well. They fit well on the original twin mill casting. Hopefully they will look as good on my custom. With the mods complete and the casting in primer, it was time to make some decals. The final shape of the build inspired the name. As a nod to Jim's recent The Grinch build, I would call my build the Gecko. While waiting for the paint to dry, the design for the decals was finalized and printed. Here's a quick look back at the original twin mill. And now, may I present to you the Gecko. I have to thank Santa Slowdog for inviting me to do this buddy build. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the build.